Catus Maximus here, this time with a video showing the best attempt to repair a round head ratchet that has issues, slipping. And this can happen when ratchets wear out. The big deal with round head ratchets is that many times the anvils are not very tight. And on this Mac XRR C8, I had actually done a previous video and deleted it due to just terrible editing mistakes. I found another shim washer. Originally, this anvil was wobbling around just an incredible amount. Round head ratchets do tend to have that issue, even some pair heads, but they're just not very tight, and so the actual pawls are rocking back and forth and only engaging on a little bit of the surface area instead of all the way across evenly, causing accelerated and uneven wear. And even after fixing or reducing the wobble a great deal, it simply still wasn't enough to be able to prevent it from slipping. But there is something we can do. It's called taking it apart and spending just a few minutes with a couple of files and filing the teeth inside the ratchet body itself. Round head ratchets actually aren't so bad. They can many times end up being a little bit taller, maybe a little bit wider, but not so much. And I'll end up doing a video comparing that, showing how they're really not so much bigger than pair heads. There happens to be a lot of different designs. This Mac has two twin pawls and it's still slipping. And somebody in another video did mention that all air ratchets and for that matter electric ratchets are round head ratchets. All air ratchets are round head ratchets. It may have a pear shape, but what's happening is on an air ratchet, this part's wiggling back and forth, the same as having a round head in there. And the pawl's actually in the portion that's connected to the anvil. These are not like pair heads, and I thought, wow, that's actually amazing. Round head ratchets are the mechanism that's used on power tools or power ratchets, and I always thought that's kind of curious. You'd think they might use a different design, but due to the nature of how you need to deliver the power to one of these tools, they just are round head designs. Kind of interesting. Knocking these apart is really pretty easy. There's either there's some type of snap ring. Most of these spiral coil snap rings, so you just need to go around until you find the edge. Get usually a precision screwdriver works the best, and you just try to get that. Now this wants to spin around. It can be just a little bit of a exercise. Usually they have a little notch. As soon as you get the screwdriver under the edge of the spring, you can just unwind it like so. And voila. And actually it was from another ratchet. This is the shim washer that I was using, and you can see how thick this is. This thing, the big issue with this Mac is simply the fact that it didn't have a washer and the anvil was just doing this and caused uneven wear. It is slipping despite the fact that it has two pawls and each pawl has 5 teeth. That's 10 teeth of engagement. And this darn thing still is slipping. As you can see, I've already cleaned it. Tried to do my best, but I just assumed that these teeth right here are worn out too much. The only thing that we really need to do is first see if I'm going to use this. I'm using mill files here, which are fine tooth files. The ratchet pawls themselves many times are made out of just super duper hard steel, sometimes as hard as a file, and you may not really be able to file them much. The ratchet bodies, even though they're chrome vanadium steel, are still a little bit softer. So all I'm going to do is take a close look and try to see if the little V grooves are 90 degrees. If they're sharper than 90 degrees, then I'm going to have to use this triangular file. And it only takes maybe 5-10 minutes. I'm just going to go in there and do a couple passes on each tooth with the file. If I get tired, I'll use a Sharpie and mark where I was at, although you can see where you're at because of the filing marks. And I'm just going to deepen the teeth a little bit and see if that can't help out. When I'm looking at the teeth on these ratchet pawls, they really don't look that bad. They don't look like they're ground down or that they're going to slip. So I think really the issue is these teeth are just a little bit too rounded off, and that's what's allowing it to slip. So I'm just going to make them a little bit deeper so that these teeth can have a little more engagement and try to breathe some life back into it. I did want to add, you want to closely inspect the pawls. We can see that the root cause of why this, besides having a very loose anvil, is another issue. What we can see here is you can see how shiny these first teeth are. If I can just get the reflection, shiny, shiny, getting darker, darker. What's happening is that pawl is kind of hitting on the inside edge. I guess the short of it is that the arc of this pawl, this is a tighter arc than the circle that's put in. It's a small geometry issue. Or even though this has all these teeth, really, it's only the first one or two that are really engaging, allowing it to slip a lot easier. That's unfortunate for a company like Mac. Anyway, I'll still do my filing duties on the body because making those teeth just a little bit deeper may allow these to sink in just a little bit further, allowing more of the teeth to engage. But at least that's what the root cause. This is really the hardest part. I'm going to use a triangular file because it'll make a little bit deeper of a groove. You just find a tooth. It'll be easy to see which tooth you're on because you just filed it. But you're only concentrating on two things. One, making sure it's straight. If you make it cockeyed, all you're going to do is grind away teeth and go backwards. You also don't want to have it tilted up and down. You're just trying to keep this straight and true. Two hands. Don't worry about too much force because that's one way that you aren't paying enough attention essentially to keeping it straight. And you're just going to go along. Go on to the next tooth. This ratchet body is way softer. This file would skate off those ratchet teeth. They're really, but on this ratchet body, you can already see. Well, let me loosen this up. Just a couple of just not very hard passes, and you can see removed a significant amount of material. So you're just trying to run the file through straight and true. Okay, I'm back. Actually, let me get you a closer look at my butcher job. There we go. Obviously, it was by hand. It wasn't perfect, so you can see some darker areas where I didn't quite get them all perfectly, but nonetheless, using a hand file to try to restore teeth. This is actually, the teeth are pretty fine. You can see they got a little rounded, so I should have used like a precision file, a needle file, because those teeth were pretty fine. So either I've totally ruined it or what I've done will be sufficient. So let's go ahead and get this together and see. Alright, got it back together here. So either this worked or it didn't. Oh, it was pretty bad earlier. I had a little skip there. So, unfortunately that didn't totally fix it because there was somewhere on those ratchet pawls themselves. They're extremely hard. You need to get a specialized grinding wheel. It's much more difficult to try to work on those pawls because they are about as hard as a file itself. And I used just a bit too big of a file. As far as this direction, seems to be just fine. So it's a valid video. I'll go and actually edit this and upload it because that could help some people, maybe not in situations. This Mac is actually seeing quite a few ratchet cycles. But it clearly did help. I am holding the socket pretty good. A couple skips here and there, but it's actually, relatively speaking, it's cooperating. So I'll keep it for now. Even with a couple little skips, it's not hitting those spots where it was just skidding and just not doing anything. So there you go. Just a little bit of effort and a needle file instead of the bigger one I was using, and you can actually bring a ratchet back into action. Anyway, really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.